Hello everyone. This is a no damage run of Castlevania Rondo of Blood.
Vor langer Zeit lebten die Menschen glücklich und zufrieden. Niemand bemerkte den Schatten, der sich langsam über ihnen ausbreitete. Die Dunkelheit trübte ihre Sinne und das Böse fraß sich tief in ihre Seelen. Vom Wahnsinn getrieben schmiedeten sie einen Pakt mit dem Teufel. Zu später Stunde kamen sie zusammen, um gemeinsam die Mächte der Finsternis mit ihrem sündigen Blut zu rufen. Sie zu erlösen von ihrer sterblichen Existenz, den Anbeginn einer neuen Welt vor Augen. Und so begab es sich, dass nach 100 Jahren das Böse wieder Fleisch geworden war. Als unsterbliches Geschöpf der Nacht kann es die Gestalt des Wolfs, der Fledermaus oder des Nebels annehmen. Es labt sich am Blut der Menschen. Dracula, der Fürst der Finsternis, Herr des Teufelsschlosses, ist auferstanden.
Wildly different translation, isn't it? So this run was done in individual levels on the PC Engine version. This is a hacked version of the game with a translation patch. For most of the run I'll be playing as Maria, but for the first few stages I'll be playing as Richter. So first up, we have to jump right before Death throws the scythe the first time. That way the scythe goes upward, the trajectory of the scythe is locked upward, and then we can go under the scythe and then whip Death. A no commentary version will be pinned in the pinned comment in the comments section below. So throughout stage 1, we're just going to be using the axe. Heart farming is pretty optional. Sorry, did I say axe? I'm sorry, I meant knife. We're going to be using the knife. So Richter in Dracula X, Rondo of Blood, is significantly different from Richter in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So he can't slide around. He doesn't have any special dash attacks or anything like that. He can somersault and he can still item crash. But his item crashes are severely nerfed compared to the way they are in Soten. Whenever you see these Donkey Kong guys over here, just keep walking forward. That way the barrel will just pass right over you. When the Skeleton Blaze pops out of the window here, we'll use an item crash. Item crash is the select button by default. I don't actually know what the controls are like on the PSP or PS4 versions. But whatever. If you're playing PS4, then you probably know which button is item crash anyway, so I'm not going to patronize you with the button assignments. The Golem over here, whenever he shoots fireballs, we're just going to try to get back on the ground as soon as possible and head to the left. Got a couple of these guys to deal with. Probably a little easier to use the axe in this situation, but the whole reason I took the knife earlier was for that skeleton blaze. Simply, if I did not have the knife item crash available, then he probably would have been significantly more unmanageable. So the first fight is with the Wyvern. And you don't really need to do much. He alternates between two attack patterns, just throw axes. And his first attack is going to be a swoop. Then his second attack is going to be fire. When your number of hearts is blinking, by the way, that means you can use an item crash. Each sub-weapon obviously uses a different number of hearts, but the blinking number is what you want to look for if you want to know the minimum number of hearts to item crash. The axe item crash costs about 10 hearts. Little backflip for style there. So the way I have the levels arranged in this video, I start with the normal stages first. Then after we clear stage 5, I go back and do all of the alternate stages, or the apostrophe stages, as they are. So these crows over here, the first two will swoop directly towards you, so just stay on the ground and whip them. Then the third one is going to move regardless, so stay neutral and air whip. Then the last one, just jump into him and whip. And this last one over here, these Axe Knights take 7 hits before they die. You just have to be kind of quick in order to take it out, but otherwise just focus on whipping the axes and take it slowly. It's the best course of action with the axe armors. First staircase over here. We'll take that upwards. After the second blink is when the hitboxes on the Peeping Eye become active. And as for the zombies over here, try not to jump forward if at all possible, because the zombies love to spawn while you're in the middle of jumping. And basically if you jump towards a zombie, when it spawns on the screen, you're just a few frames away from getting hit, and you probably won't even be able to create enough space to get around them. One thing to note with the zombies in this stage, backflipping is also not a good idea, because if you try to backflip over one by tapping the jump button twice, then chances are another zombie will spawn directly behind you. That's no good. We're going to get this key over here, and this is the only sub-weapon we got. Trying to farm up as many hearts as possible. You should probably have about 40 hearts or so by the time you're done with this, because we want to be able to have 45 hearts for item crashing against the boss here. I should also mention that Richter has certain control over his jumps. Whenever you can jump over the purple fur on the behemoth, that's exactly when the hitbox ends, by the way. So that's like the safe distance to jump over him in order to collect that large heart, which is going to be necessary, by the way. We don't want to go for the candle on the left here. We just want to collect exactly the candles that are in our way. I'm going to have about 47 here. By using the item here, you despawn all the enemies before going through to rescue Maria.
I am Richter Belmont, vampire hunter. And you are?
My name's Maria Renard. I heard all about you from Annette. I came here to beat some bad men, but I got caught. My family are vampire hunters too, so I guess that means we should be friends now.
Sure, friends. But Maria, you're too young for this. You just let the big hunter here take care of that bad man, okay?
Oh, you don't know anything. I can handle this just fine.
Being patronizing to children, especially children who are better than you at your job, is always the right thing to do. Trying to space this guy out so I don't get hit by a fireball. By the way, in case you're wondering why this recording is significantly lower res, it's because I forgot to reset my capture card before I recorded this segment, this session. Also, my apologies, you actually need 60 hearts. You need 48 by the time you go into this door if you want to have exactly 60 for the werewolf. Because the item crash for the Holy Water, Hydrostorm, is going to be 60 hearts for 3 uses, so 20 hearts each. So to deal with Werewolf, you can hold B, and Richter will be facing the same direction no matter what, so it's kind of like a moonwalk. As soon as you see the werewolf, that's when you start to press the item crash button. Incidentally, when you stay over here, you are actually completely safe while you are using item crash. Then when he's low enough on health, you just wait for him to come your way and whip. Because the hitbox on the whip actually extends a little bit upward, which is just enough to beat Werewolf and his werepeen. Beware the werepeen. So from stage 3 onward is where I start to play as Maria. Pretty much everything about Maria is better. Her doves basically function as short-range boomerangs, so she can get a lot more hits off of an enemy than Richter. Not to mention the range extends a little higher. The range is a little bit shorter, but she's also a lot quicker, and she has a couple of evasion moves as well. She's got a somersault if you hold down and jump, or sorry, a somersault if you hold down and a direction and jump, which basically allows her to move significantly faster than Richter. And also a slide if you just hold down. But yeah, you can see the somersault. I'm just moving faster than these enemies can spawn behind me. So pretty good. These fleamen over here, they, sorry, I just had to deal with my cat. These fleamen over here, we just kind of want to wait for them to come to us, and then we will use the bird item. Basically, all of Maria's sub-weapons are all representative of the 4 cardinal directions in, like, Eastern mythology. Just animals that are representative of that or something. I don't really know the details all that well, so I apologize. But the bird is Suzaku, the dragon is Shinryu, the turtle is Inbu, and the cat is Byakko. But all of her item crashes basically summon much bigger forms of these. This room is definitely a case for using Suzaku over here. Suzaku the bird, the phoenix. Because pretty much everything is directly above us, but we need to have 25 hearts by the time we are done with this screen over here, and then just not use sub-weapons anymore for the rest of the stage until the boss. Some healing item there if you need it. But also, Maria's got a double jump, in case I didn't mention it before, which is why I was able to clip through a platform earlier. I was distracted by other things, so I didn't get to mention that. The double jump is one other huge advantage that she has over Richter, because it allows you a little bit of extra aerial dodging capability. So you can jump one way, then double jump another way. Pretty good. Stay down to the left and just get rid of those guys. So we got 36 hearts here. Then there's going to be 14 in this last room, and we're going to pick up Shinryu, the dragon. And we're going to use the Shinryu item crash on the boss, which costs 50 hearts to do, which is why I saved so many. Also, birthday cake. Castlevania dev teams have always had an offbeat sense of humor. I kind of like that about them. So, gonna just slowly throw some of these to knock him all the way back, and then we're gonna use item crash as soon as he charges towards us, and we can go over him the other direction. So just trying to bait him over this way. We need to be on the right side of the screen when we kill him. I'm still vulnerable here during the item crash, but now he's dead. And we're protected by this big old Greek statue over here. Whiff the fuck out of that Shoryuken. Maria's speed is exceptionally useful for dealing with the fleamen. Anyway, for here we got a somersault under the dragons. It's probably not necessarily safer, but it's definitely quicker. Try to stay on the edge here in order to try to bait these skeletons into jumping into my doves. We can just grab Genbu over here, the turtle, and then just jump over here and to the right. Then for this room here, we're just going to somersault past everything. Because none of it can spawn fast enough to catch us. You could drop into the hole and take an alternate route to the top, but it's going to be a lot faster to go this way. A lot faster and safer. Excuse me. Speed is not the objective here. As I try to make a point to mention every time I record commentary for a no damage video, speed is absolutely not the point of this. Even though I say faster, sometimes I particularly mean it's safer because you have less exposure to danger, but that's not always the case. Really, a no damage run is more so about risk mitigation than anything else. So, double jump over that guy. The orange axe armors. The orange axe armors just charge at you. They don't throw any axes, so you can just jump straight over them. Maria is just significantly better for platforming, and it's pretty great. We don't actually need to grab the... Oh, whew! I just saved myself there. So, Genbu's standard ability, if you hit up and B, up and attack, is to protect Maria. It doesn't work on everything, but it does shield you from like the myriad projectiles of like certain enemies that just shoot a million bajillion projectiles. Also, the item crash for Genbu is pretty good. Basically, when you item crash, giant tortoise will spawn directly behind you. Also, Maria has one more ability that I have not mentioned, is Guardian Knuckles. So by hitting up, quarter circle forward, and attack, which is really hard to do on a PC Engine controller, by the way, she just shoots out a little puppet that deals constant DPS to whatever makes contact with it. Makes pretty short work of Dullahan. Basically, if Dullahan fires off any projectiles or anything, then just cease trying to Guardian Knuckle and use Genbu to shield yourself. That's all you gotta do. Stage 5. Gotta be aggressive with these guys. They take 3 hits to die, but we have to beat them before they attack, and then get around the skeletons here. There's a Rosario in the candle there, which will eliminate everything. I threw a dove at his arrow before it could hit me, which is one of the other things that the doves are very useful for. I'm opening up a secret path down here so that I can get around a sub-boss here. The bone muskets over here can basically hit you from any range immediately, so you gotta be ready to jump. Also, sometimes I have trouble with the platforming. I'm holding up while trying to climb staircases, but for some reason Maria just doesn't attach herself to them sometimes. I can't tell whether that arrow despawned or not. So here's another sub-boss, which is a portrait, which was seen again in Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. But basically we just keep hitting it and keep knocking it backwards. It's not a threat. You know, I really love the soundtrack of this game. So for these green armors over here, we want to just use a standard up B for Shinryu and just follow up with a dove, and that's going to be enough damage to kill each of the green guys. And if we're lucky and the Flea Riders jump in front of them, or jump in front of our attack, then we get to take them out too. But otherwise, once the green armor is taken out, just back off and mop up. Jeez, I could not imagine doing this section as Richter. It would be a huge pain in the ass. So Death has a lot of invincibility frames, and we're basically just going to keep the dragon since I think it deals the most damage out of any sub-weapon by default. Like individual sub-weapon shots. But as long as you hit Death in the head, then you're good. Pretty much every time you use Shinryu there, it takes out the tinier scythes as well. So after dodging these skulls over here, he's going to come back, and we're going to finish him off. Guardian Knuckle is very good for this phase because he just stays on the ground. Any enemy that stays on the ground, you can just use Guardian Knuckles and just totally lay waste to them. So now going back, we're going to do the alternate stages, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those. I actually recorded this before I recorded getting Maria, so that's why I'm not playing as Maria here. Truthfully, I just kind of gave up trying to no damage this game as Richter, because Richter's movements are very, very stiff. And I mean stiff by Castlevania standards. For all the enemy placement in this game, I feel like Richter should have had like an omnidirectional whip like Simon does in Castlevania 4. I feel like they could have done playing Richter a lot more justice. I don't know, maybe it's different in the remake. I should probably play the remake of this game sometime. The remake on PSP. Also, I learned that it actually takes only 2 knife throws in order to get around that skull dude, Skeleton Blaze. So as you can see over here, there's a hidden wall, and the ectoplasm, we're just gonna hit it 3 times. I want to farm up as many hearts as I can. We need 60 so that we can use more holy water. The alternate paths are where the other 2 maidens are, by the way. Otherwise, the only maidens that you can rescue just playing straight through the game are Maria and Annette. And jump over here. There's another 3 hearts are in that candle. I collected them all at once. Actually, I didn't even have nearly enough hearts for this. But that's fine, because we're gonna pause scum the fuck out of this boss. Because it's actually really difficult to tell like what trajectory the boss is going to use unless you use pause scumming. So that's why I'm pausing and unpausing here. As long as the chunks of the boss are in the background like that, you can just walk by them but once the chunks pass into the foreground, that's when they start to deal damage. So once he pops out of the water here, in order to try to shoot fireballs, we're going to get right up next to him and then use Hydro Storm. Whenever he coils the bridge like that, he moves slightly closer in the direction he is trying to move. But 2 Hydro Storms is enough to take him out. Then he's got 1 Desperation Attack. The Desperation Attacks, you've probably seen them by now, are like suicide attacks whenever you kill the boss. They're pretty common in Bloodstained Curse of the Moon as well. But they actually do not kill you. They do damage, but they don't kill you. Also fun to note that all of Maria's stage names are different from Richter's. Obviously, this stage is not called I Hate Taking the Long Way Around whenever you're playing as Richter. So just kind of taking it nice and slow on these birds here. Because Maria has plenty of movement options here, it's easy to take as long as you need and then go in for the kill whenever necessary. So shoutouts to my friend Ben for letting me borrow his PC engine for this run, by the way. He's a pretty accomplished console modder, so go check out iFix Retro. There's some jail bars on the screen here, but those are because the amp installed kind of predated the current Voltar amps. Trying to take out these gargoyles as quickly as possible, otherwise the more they spawn, the more will just crowd up on you. So we gotta wait for them to attack and then jump in and hit. A lot of things are happening way too fast for me to commentate, actually. So I guess like from here on out, aside from the obvious, maybe I'll just talk about like the biggest dangers that are in like particular sections of the levels I play through. So far we're doing pretty good on heart count. You just double jump over here. I think this is one such boss where Byakko is the best choice. But all the double jumping here prevents you from having to go up above, putting yourself in even more danger. So the Sword Lord over here, his attack patterns are exactly the same as they are in Symphony of the Night. You know, just he's got his million stab, he's got his overhead swing, and then whenever he uses his sword under and over, then he'll throw a fireball, or he'll, I don't know, cause like a blue spark to come out of the ground. But basically we want him to do like his melee attacks, and whenever we see him wind up, we'll just either somersault out of the way or just run out of the way. In favor of spacing, I just move. Somersaulting would have definitely been safer. Actually, no. We want Shinryu for this stage, for this boss. The Bone Golem, I believe it's called. So the Bone Golem, definitely a boss made for Maria. Trying to whip it with Richter is quite painful, actually. But we got enough hearts to deal with this. We're not going to be item crashing him at any point because he does have a lot of invincibility frames at any one point in time. Consequently, item crashing would just be wasted on him. So here's form number 2. Just gonna use the item crash exclusively on this, or sorry, the standard Shinryu exclusively on this. And then for the third form, we're going to Guardian Knuckle this one, so up, quarter circle, forward attack. Just kind of getting my roll going. That's why I'm like using a bunch of Guardian Knuckles early. Because, like I said, it's insanely difficult to do on an actual PC Engine controller. Stage 3 alternate, which we get for defeating Bone Golem either in Stage 2 or Stage 2 alternate, takes us to the cemetery. We can just double jump over this quicksand here. That is a luxury that Richter does not have. We'll go over here and probably wondering what this is. This game is actually chock full of secrets, interestingly enough. So push the tombstone and we get a secret area. And there's Shinryu, a 1-up, some extra hearts. Actually, you get to choose whatever sub-weapon you want pretty much immediately. Same with Richter. So right here, it's we just stay in the center until the Puexel here. The enemy is called Puexel, yes. Same as my friend, the RPG speedrunner Puexel. That's where he got it from. We gotta wait until it descends, then we move to the left, because it slowly tracks your movement, and then you use Shinryu to beat it. Just kill all the eyes at once. Cue cutscene.
Who's there? Ah. Sister. Surely you're help sent from heaven. You are an angel. Please hurry back to the village. And be careful! Wait! What's your name? Maria Renard, Vampire Hunter. Maria, I know God is watching over you.
This shit is so anime. So in order to rescue, I don't know what this green-haired girl's name is, but in order to rescue her, you have to go under the door and then hit the bricks, as you saw. That's the secret. For the Gravekeeper over here, we're just going to go all the way to the left, and he is going to fall. And we are never going to deal with him again. So the area down there is where the boss is. We got to go up here and use our doves to drop a gigantic spiked ball so that it breaks. Then we can go to the alternate boss, the name of which I do not remember, but he's pretty obnoxious. I'm just going to call him Pain Elemental because he looks like the Pain Elemental from Doom. No sub-weapons are actually necessary for this. Though I think Genbu, the turtle, is probably best here. Also, the mouse hole over there contains some cheese. You can see the mouse went into the little hole over there. The mouse knows where that good is. Also, I'd like to really climb down those stairs. We just need to stay to the left over here. And, like exactly on the edge, and the lasers, his opening attack will just completely miss. Then we can just up B a couple of times. Once he does teleport. Because we've already done enough damage. And then for his Desperation Attack, we just gotta stay to the right of the circle, crouch, and then, as you can see, just wait for him to be over and move to the left. And that's stage 4 alternate. Now, sorry, stage 3 alternate. Stage 4 alternate coming up after we've beaten the Pain Elemental. We're gonna grab Suzaku over here, and we're gonna bait these toads into falling directly in front of us. Also, I have no idea how I dodged that. Do as I say, not as I do. Try to bait the guys. But the frogs in the water over here, gotta be mindful of those because those can actually hit you. So you're not totally safe there. It's basically a constant struggle to maintain optimal range. Don't gotta worry about the crow over there. Just kind of jump over him. In order to rescue the final maiden, Iris, or the third maiden, Iris, we have to hit the frog statues on both sides of this part of the stage. Also, I like to use Byakko for the frogs here, so that we can just slide behind Byakko. But in general, maybe not use too many hearts. Big ass Rosario over here. Kills everything. Now that we've done both frog statues, this bridge over here is going to drop. And then this will lead us to the path to Iris. These guys are obnoxious, so just try to stay on the ground, double jump over gaps.
Oh. What's this? Come to save me? Uh-huh. Oh my, you are injured. Yeah, but I'm just fine. Uh-oh, gotta run. See you. Wait, my father is a doctor. That should do it. Wow, thank you so much, miss. Oh no, it is I who should be thanking you. Thank you. It's very dangerous here. Be careful.
So next we're going to go in reverse in order to get to the alternate boss. But there's a catch here. Oh, also if we go back into any of the rooms with any of the maidens that we rescued, we can actually get more hearts and choose our sub-weapon if we so choose. But I have to mention that Stage 5 alternate cannot be played yet. You have to actually finish the game and rescue all the maidens before you can go to Stage 5 alternate. So that would mean that you have to beat the alternate boss on the stage again whenever you are going for Stage 5 alternate after beating the game. So because of Maria's smaller hitbox, we're just going to stay here on the right and just harass this guy by throwing doves directly to our left. We're going to wait for one more signpost, or one more bird to drop to our right, and he's going to be carrying a signpost. And whenever he does, we're just going to jump under him. Or just a little bit in front of him, actually. Just try to stop ourselves a little bit in front of him. But Maria has actually pretty okay air control. There it is, and jump. But you want to do it like basically as soon as you see the bird. Otherwise, the skeleton halberd is going to collide with you once the rafts begin to fall off the waterfall. So we're going to use the Rosario here when there's bats and kind of reset their spawn timer a little bit. Then we're going to get the key, which we need to open this gate to the boss, interestingly enough. You'd expect there to be a Maiden hidden behind the gate, but it's actually the other way around. We gotta go this way. I'm gonna grab Genbu here because Genbu is going to be the preferred sub-weapon to use against this boss. We're gonna stand over here, make sure that the Carmilla mask flies directly to the left. Meanwhile, Carmilla just jumping in place like fucking Daffy Duck. We gotta hit her like 5 or 6 times before she dies. We can't item crash her. So because it would have been weird for me to place the recording of stage 5 after the credits, I decided to just go ahead and include it over here. This is like the hardest stage in the game, but once you complete it, it leads to stage 6, exactly the same as standard stage 5, but stage 5 alternate. Anyway, gotta do a lot of alternating between standing your ground and trying to defend yourself, but also being aggressive, especially for these sword enemies over here. What I like to do is I like to use the double jump to get onto this platform over here, and then use Suzaku to take out the birds up above. Then use the doves to take out the bats directly in front. It is advisable to take out that sword, skeleton sword over there. For some reason, doves have like knockbacks, so sometimes you can knock that guy into the water, but if he falls onto that platform over there, then just stay to the left and he'll eventually kill himself. So, one more platform. We're just gonna crouch over here. This is definitely a Maria platforming section. I'm pretty sure that Richter would never be able to complete this. Kill that bat, jump onto the other platform, and we're done with this section of the stage. Once again, you can only do this section post-game, after the game is complete. And you have rescued all the maidens, and completed every other level. So it's a pain in the ass for no reason to unlock. It's got some cool music though. Try and take these spear armors nice and easy. I like to have Byakko here as like sort of a backup strat to use against these guys. Have Byakko take the low angle, but just keep throwing doves for whenever he decides to throw his axes at head height. Try to Guardian Knuckle these other guys. Then there's going to be 2 more guys, and with the correct spacing and good enough execution, you can Guardian Knuckle them both. I was lucky that he ran right into my last Guardian Knuckle there, because my execution for Guardian Knuckles is terrible. That's why I keep trying and accidentally like attacking or doing something else instead. Like that. So room number 2, clear. There's less platforming if we take the upper route, so that's why I like to take the upper route. These peeping eyes over here, I'm trying to actually get as much, as many hearts as I can for the last screen that's coming up here. A lot of slowdown here. I'm actually not sure if there's any slowdown in the PS4 or PSP versions of this. Also, I hear I had to pause because, same as what's happening in this commentary, I had to deal with my cat getting on the desk. because I was having a hell of a time trying to complete the stage, and I really did not want to lose my progress. Or, that is to say, I didn't want to have to start all the way over because of my stupid cat. I love that little bastard. He is simultaneously the smartest and stupidest animal in the world. So we're just going to jump over these Medusa heads over here and take out the spear armors over here. This is going to be safer to do so than it is to just, like, plow through it all. Though you could probably just as easily cartwheel over everything. One other thing about Maria is her double jump will save you from these spinny platforms over here. There's one more axe armor over here. We're going to use Byaku's giant rainbow tiger form in order to kill that guy. Just as a finishing touch to this stage. And then it's over. So from here on out, normal stage progression. We're going to stage 6. You would go to stage 6 if you cleared stage 5 from earlier. Or stage 5 alternate. Gonna use Genbu here. Try to farm up as many hearts as we can. So we have 2 item crash charges for Genbu. And we're gonna use that on a couple of these forms over here. So, the boss rush. Getting my roll going for Guardian Knuckles. It gets a little easier over time, but the muscle memory is actually quite precise. Don't need to worry about this bat too much. His hitbox is like in the center, so you can be a little bit in his wingspan and still be okay. You won't get hit. Obviously take out the fireballs before we take out the rest of them. Then he's going to drop a million bajillion hearts here. Actually, it's more like 14 hearts. Medusa over here, we're just going to stand our ground. We are shorter than Medusa's Stone Gaze attack, so we can just keep using Guardian Knuckle and back off whenever she does jump and try to use a physical attack with her tail. Next up is Akmodon, and I want to use Guardian Knuckles here as much as possible, but as you can see, my technique is not so good. So I messed up and I had to do an extra cycle here. Managed to kill him just barely before another set of those stupid mummy bandages would come out. For Frankie over here, we're just going to use the item crash. We got to make sure that we are facing the opposite direction so that whenever Genbu spawns, it'll be directly on top of Frankenstein. Pardon the extra long load times here. Shoutouts to PCCD. Lastly, we're going to fight Shaft. We're going to use Guardian Knuckles on him, because our item crashes are useless against him. So in some cases, Guardian Knuckle is better than item crashing. There's this shitty Desperation Attack there. And now Shaft is dead. Here's the second to last and longest stage in the game. Stage 7. This section over here basically makes it next to impossible to do no damage as Richter. So here's what I have to say to that. We're just going to slide through everything. We're going to jump over these bats. If we go through this at normal speed, as in not sliding around, then we would get chased by a million bats. And because of Richter's clunkier movement, It is next to impossible to dodge these guys, so fuck that very much. There's a big heart in that candle there. It's actually useful. But, gonna use the doves here for this room and try to close the gap on these skeletons as quickly as possible before they start throwing their bones. We're gonna use Byakko to take out the skeleton and just get out of the way. Byakko also spawns a little bit higher than Maria's head, so he's basically very useful for just throwing upwards on platforms and hitting enemies from awkward angles. So Byakko is actually pretty good for that. Unfortunately, not so much for friggin' the bird over here. Got some egg ramen out of that nest there. I wonder what that bird was doing hoarding ramen. Or, I mean, it could even be the legendary ramen bird. That's where your ramen comes from. Is, the ramen bird lays an egg, and then you crack it open, and out comes exactly one ramen. That was dumb, I know. I'm sorry.
Annette! Oh, Maria! Are you all right, Maria? Yeah, I'm just fine because I have the same vampire hunter's blood flowing in me as that man Richter. I think he's fighting someplace else right now. Richter's coming. Oh my! Looks like you hoped it wouldn't be me who came to save you. Oh no, that's not what I meant. Thank you very much, Maria. Come on, let's go home. Not yet. There's still something I have to do. You go back without me. I'm gonna beat that vampire to a bloody pulp. See you! Maria! For heaven's sake, she can be as reckless as Richter.
I love all the Maria cutscenes. They're so darling. Of course, Richter gets his own versions of cutscenes whenever you rescue the maidens. So you can just double jump up all these platforms here and completely avoid all the danger in this room. But there's no platform right under that door, interestingly enough. Gonna take this area nice and slow here. There's a couple more sword lords. We're just gonna slide out of the way whenever we see them winding up. They take 8 hits to kill. Pick up Byakko again. But Byakko actually really isn't all that useful here. He's useful for getting in like maybe 1 or 2 more extra hits on these guys, but I think I'd rather save up the hearts for Ghost Shaft. We're going to be using Suzaku on Ghost Shaft. We'll have an opportunity to pick that up right before Shaft. You can double jump onto this platform over here and get around the Sword Lord. Just going to chase him away here. Also, these were-skeletons here, these were-jaguars, just fuck them. Don't even try. Just like don't even try to fight them with Maria. Just get out of the way. Pre-boss room. Grab Suzaku. There's a health item in one of those blocks on the far right, which Maria should be able to double jump and hit. So now we got Phoenix again. I haven't actually used Phoenix item crash this run through. It does look pretty cool, fireballs everywhere, but Ghost Shaft is completely immune to fireballs, or completely immune to item crashes. He has a lot of invincibility frames, and he gets knocked back and forth. It is possible to loop him for this entire for this entire fight. But it's exceptionally difficult to get the spacing right. So I just kind of fought him the normal way. If at all possible, I would rather have him touch the ground on the left than on the right, because at least then the behemoth that pops out of the ground, I can just jump over that instead of deal with a friggin' dragon. For some reason, Behemoth pops out of the ground here if he goes off screen, or if Ghost Shaft goes off screen. I feel like I got a little lucky in this section. So now the final boss fight, which I could do with Richter quite easily. I mean, who hasn't done this with Richter by now? If you've played Symphony of the Night, you know exactly how this fight is going to go. Doesn't actually matter which... Actually, no, I chose to use Genbu for this. Obviously hit him in the head, jump over all the fireballs. Maria can just double jump over everything. Especially his Hellfire attack. Like his Meteor attack. I think this is it. Here's true power! One more to the right. Playtime's over! Grant me power! And once the health gauge pops up, we can just use Genbu, like once or twice, and it totally kicks the shit out of him. That's the end of that. And that was Rondo of Blood, no damage. Hopefully you find this helpful for any trophy hunting, because I'm pretty sure I got every trophy doing this.
Once again, the blood of Belmont has defeated me. Perhaps this, too, is part of my fate.
It's your fault for being so mean to everyone.
It is not by my own power that I am resurrected. It is the greed of humanity which calls me back. And thus, by might, I rule. Might becomes the one and only justice in this world.
I don't understand what that means. No matter how complicated you make it, a bad thing is still a bad thing.
So long as greedy humans exist, I shall be reborn. That's all you need to remember. You proved amusing to me. We shall meet again, Blood of Belmont.
What you think is so funny?
Obviously a very different ending. Probably from what you were expecting. But, definitely this was a lot more fun to play as Maria than as Richter. So if you're going for this, I would highly recommend that. Anyway, that's it from me. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you see, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to support my content, you can do so on Patreon. The only benefit I have is for $1 a month you get early access to my videos. But that $1 goes a long way. I would appreciate it. Also be sure to check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/CarcinogenSDA. Every video that I record is usually recorded while I am streaming, so you want to watch me do this stuff live, that's where you go. I stream there full time, about 5-6 days a week. But that's it then. See you all next video.